Hi, and welcome to this video as we discuss property tax protest part 2. This is Dr. Robert York-Westbrook, Board of Directors, Brazoria County Appraisal District. I am making this video to continue the education of those constituents who live in Brazoria County and who elected me to office. Again, I say thank you and gratitude to you. This is part 2. If you have not watched part 1, please go ahead and watch part 1 before watching this video. Let me say again, the matters discussed in this video do not represent the opinions of any one person or the board in its entirety of Brazoria County Appraisal District. These are just comments based on my general observation. There is no legal context. I am not giving you financial advice of any kind. I take no liability here in terms of the choices that you will make from watching this video. This is just simply my attempt to give you some information as I see it, and they represent the views of no one other than myself. And any information that's shared in this video, you should take it, and if you need professional help, seek that. But it's up to you which aspects of this you may find helpful. This is just an attempt on my part to share with you some of my thoughts about some of the aspects of dealing with property tax and in particular protest. Okay, with that said, let's jump into part 2 of talking about the about property tax and some of the things that we might want to think about. So in part 1, I explained that the appraisals that take place for our property, and I primarily I'm primarily talking about residential property, but I think this is true of all of them. These appraisals are computer generated, and they are not. It's not a situation where individual people, in most cases, are coming around and looking at your homes. Okay, they're computer generated based on a 3-tier technique that includes what houses in your area are selling for, how much it would take to rebuild your home. So with that understood, these computer generated appraisals are not able to take into account the different structural changes that may have happened inside or outside of your home. Okay, or even your business. So it's important to understand that, because if you're thinking that it's appraised based on somebody just coming around and looking, and there's things that you know that have happened that they haven't, then you may not decide to protest. But if you know that there's some really structural changes that have taken place, then you may decide to protest. And speaking of structural changes, it's important that you understand that cosmetic changes, trees, shrubs, things like that may have, died in the winter, and other things that are insignificant, appliances going out. Those kinds of things are not considered structural changes. I'm going to talk to you about some of the actual structural changes that may have happened on your property for which a protest might be warranted. Okay. Now, if you intend to protest, and you have a right to, just understand in April, the notices are going to be going out. The protest period, I believe, starts in May. You can get more information about that, and I'll give you the link or the website for that at the end of this video. But you can call the Brazoria County Appraisal District to get more information about exactly when notices are going out and when the protest period starts. But you will need to register to protest, or hire a company to protest for you. And you can find those online fairly easy by Googling protest companies. I don't advocate for one or the other. I'm simply telling you that that's available to you. If you decide to protest, one of the main things you need to understand is you're going to have a limited amount of time to state your case, probably less than 15 minutes, because the appraisal review board, who you would be protesting to, they have to respond to you, and there's a limited amount of time, and there are literally hundreds of people that are going to be protesting. Okay, um, so you'll need to have empirical evidence right off the bat that delineates specific reasons why your property is appraised too high. Okay, it cannot be just because you don't owe as much as they're appraising it for. It's not just because you feel like it wouldn't sell for that. You have to have some reasons and empirical evidence that would decrease the value of the property. Okay. Um, Keep in mind, if you were to discuss upgrades on your property, every time you upgrade your property, you're increasing the value of it. So that could actually depreciate some of the things you're talking about when you talk about some of the things that's wrong with it. Okay. You'll need pictures. Just going in and talking about what's going on with your property is not enough. You're going to need to be able to show some pictures of um, what's going on with the property. If you're doing it online or whether you're doing it in person, you need to have pictures. Okay. In addition to that, if you have receipts for things like, or quotes, I only have receipts on the screen, but also quotes, because a lot of times we may not be able to get some of the things that are wrong with our homes or our businesses prepared, but we have quotes for them. Well, those receipts and quotes actually serve as amounts that would say, hey, until this is paid, my property is nowhere near where you're saying it should be appraised. Okay. If I have a quote to put on a roof and my home is leaking inside, I need to bring that quote with me to the protest and say, hey, listen, I need to get this done. And you're appraising the home. The home is being appraised as having a really great roof, and it doesn't. Okay. Um, and then there's other different types of repairs, but having those quotes and receipts with you in addition to the pictures is very important. Okay. Then the third thing is be able to articulate specifically how these changes have decreased the value of your home or even the quality of your life, and how these different changes make your home different from other homes in the area that might be selling at a different amount. I want to take some time to talk about some of the structural changes that can depreciate the value of your home and actually give you some foundation for protesting. So one of the things is if you have foundation problems in your home. And foundation problems are any damages to the foundation, including the footings, basement, or crawl space, are considered structural. Okay. Load-bearing walls. If you have any damages to those walls that support your roof, your floors, or other structural elements, those could be considered structural changes as well. You have any roof damage, damages to the roof structure, like you have boards that run underneath your shingles, rafters. The slope of your roof could be altered by some type of storm, or if it wasn't repaired correctly, the computer generated model is not going to show that. So you need to take pictures of that, bring it to your protest. Okay. But it is also good for you to have some idea of what that amount would be based on the general market rate to get that repaired. Okay. And so you would need to be able to cite that and say, okay, this is going to cost me $20,000. Okay. So just off the bat, that's more than, that's going to decrease the value here, what you're saying my house is worth. Beams and columns, any damages to beams or columns that support the roof, floors, or walls are structural. What about windows? You may have some broken windows in your home. You may have some windows that don't work. You may have some windows that are stuck, outdated. You need to list all of those. And again, how much does it cost to repair that? Because those models are saying that those windows work. They could be outdated. If most of the homes in your area, sometimes we know our neighbors have gotten new windows because it was time and they were old. If that's happened in your area, but it hasn't happened for you, that might be something you need to talk about. Floor damage. When you have foundational problems, a lot of times your floors are uneven. The floors are not level. You may have even, tripped a couple of times in your home because the floors are not level. But again, you need to take pictures of that. You need to take pictures of any of these things we're talking about, and then bring that to your protest. I know that I've seen floor damage and call out floor people, and I've been quoted several $1,000s to repair floors. But it needs to be real, right? It needs to be, you need to be able to see actual structural damage that can be proven um, when you're discussing that. You may have sewage backup. A lot of people don't think about that in context of their property taxes, but if you're having problems with your restrooms, they're not flushing appropriately, you're constantly having to to plunge those, and you've called out a plumber with it and it's still not working right. Um, I know sewers are most of the times talking about sewer systems, but I'm just throwing in, problems with the plumbing or issues that could be, um, part of your protest. If it's, especially if those toilets are sometimes flooding your home, or you're having to do mass cleanups. Next time that happens, you need to take some pictures of it so that you can say, hey, this is the valuation of the property. You may have mold or mildew growth in different areas of your home, which it could have been caused by flood water, or it could just be caused by improper ventilation or other factors in the home. If you get that evaluated and um, you get an estimate on what it would cost. Sometimes it means, taking out an entire wall in the house. Well, you can't sell your home like that. And that's something that needs to be brought up in your general protest. Also, a lot of times we have AC plumbing issues. If you have an AC problem, that may not be something you can protest. However, if that AC problem has created a blockage where you have water going back into your home, and now your walls are discolored because of the water, or maybe even holes in your wall from the plumbing problem, that's something that you could cite as a reason for protest. Okay, so moving forward, on the outside, I wouldn't, I don't know about trees and that type of thing really being a big issue. I know a lot of times with the winter storms and the hurricanes and all of that, a lot of times we will have some tree damage. But more importantly, are those cracks in the driveway. That's a structural change. That's a structural problem. And it damages your car. And a lot of times people will not buy a house when there's driveway damage. They'll want that to get repaired. So things that people who would be interested in buying your home would want to get repaired are certainly things that you should be protesting. Okay, but again, having pictures, having quotes, having receipts, and being able to articulate how these things have decreased the value of your home is really important if you want to be able um, to win your protest. Okay. Um, so notice, as I said earlier, notice for property taxes are due to be released at the same time every year, early April. You may not get a notice if you didn't have a material change in the cost of your um, on the value of your house, and that's okay. But you still need to go to the website Brazoria um, CAD.org, BrazoriaCAD.org, as you see here. You can go there and you can see what your appraisal is, as well as the assessment. Um, you'll also be able to see the different rates, tax rates that those entities that I talked about in the first video are charging each of us, which may inspire you to do what I said in the first video, which is to speak with your uh, state representatives and let them know that you want the property tax code fundamentally changed to spread the cost of operating cities, schools, and other public entities. You want that issue to be spread out, and maybe start levying taxation in other areas and not just to residents, because there's a whole lot of people that don't own property, um, that are not part of this taxation paradigm, and those changing the property tax code could very well serve to help each of us have a lower tax bill. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Again, BrazoriaCAD.org is where you'll find your information. And good luck to you on if you decide to protest this year.